Hey guys, my name is Shakir, and my story is a little different than most. I am an immigrant from the Middle East, and if you know anything about the Middle East, you can only begin to imagine the struggles we went through. After immigrating to the United States, and plenty of personal and financial hardships later, I finally reached my version of the American dream. The vehicle that helped me reach my financial freedom was real estate. Now, I run multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses, and I like to help others. That's why I'm here. If I can do it, so can you. Believe me. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll show you how.
Macros versus micro goals. This is like something this is non-negotiable for me. Everything I jump into, every new business, I own multiple businesses. Every business that I go to, I think is this business going to hit X amount of money? If that's a check, yes or no. If it's a yes, then we move on to the next setting. So big goals are very, very necessary. And I like to think big. When I was young, my dream car was a Porsche. And what it was, I wanted to be a business owner where on a big building, like a skyscraper, like a big building, one of those big buildings. So that's one of my big goals I still haven't achieved yet. I would love for in the future to own a big building that has our name on it, all in or whatever. We own a small building now, but I want us to own one of those like 20, 30 story buildings. That's my big goal. But what comes from having big goals? Smaller goals. How do you achieve the big goals? You need to have smaller goals in between. And unfortunately, a lot of us are dreamers now, like especially like with the social media and technology, we're like more delusion. I love to be a delusion optimist, but I want to be more of a realistic optimist. Because I want to have these large goals. Yeah, I want to be an astronaut. I want to do this. But what am I going to do that? And nowadays, we're so freaking spoiled. Like if I'm hungry, I can just order food with my phone right now with this device and it delivers to me. There's someone who just ordered food that actually just dropped it off. Like we got spoiled. I want it and I want it now. Well, guess what? Big goals will eventually be small goals, micro goals at some point. If your goal 6 months ago or a year ago to make $100,000 a month, you achieved that month, you achieved the $100,000. What's your next goal? $200,000, right? Or $1 million. Your big goal, your macro goal just became a micro goal. It evolved. So you always need to have a good, like a big plan. Like I want to have $10 million in 5 years saved up. And I want to have X amount. But what are you going to have in between? Well, I need to have $100,000 a month to achieve that. And I need to have this, and that. But then when you achieve that goal, that big goal that you have, it just became smaller goal. And you have other smaller goals under that. So it continues to evolve. So that's why I put big goals will eventually be a micro goal in time. And goals are not set in stone. They shift and evolve all the time. Like if you think that you have a plan to follow and this is the plan for the entire life, if you don't think that you're going to have to tweak it and like you budge, you're doing it wrong. Because just like you're evolving, your goals has to evolve with you. If you put a $10 million goal in a year and you don't see that's achievable, well, maybe it's time for you to wake the fuck up, excuse my French, and say, well, you know what? Let me make that a $500,000 goal or $1 million goal. You can have that dream, but be realistic. Understand. But if you had a goal at $500,000 and you in a year and you hit $500,000 in 6 months, do you think that goal is going to shift? Well, now your goal is going to be, okay, well, I can hit another $500,000 in 6 months, but I know more. Maybe I'll make it $1.5 million now. So now you pushed it down a little bit more. All right. I like to set goals further out the line because us human beings, we don't know how to operate on steady. If you set a goal for yourself that you want to achieve from like 10 years from now, but there is no micro goals, there's no wins, no immediate fruits of the labor, you forget why you're doing it for. We're creatures of habit and we become habitual, like it becomes very, very fast in our nature. So you have to make sure that you have some small wins that you have for yourself. Like you put for yourself, you say, if I'm going to reach $1 million, I'm going to buy me this car that I like. I'm going to buy me this house. I'm going to take my family to this trip. I'm going to do this. Make sure that you actually have those small goals and those small goals are actually rewardful. There is reward with those small goals because if you don't reward yourself, you forget why you're doing it. And now you end up being in a ugly depression cycle that you don't know what you're doing this for. Because guess what? This is reality. I've seen so many miserable business owners, millionaires, billionaires, miserable. You know, if you're waking up every day and there's money sitting in your account, do you think you're gonna be happy? You'll be happy for a month or 6 months or a year. because you're gonna go do the things that you can do. But when you did everything you thought you could do, what happens next? You're bored. You know where you see this? You see this with like artists, Justin Bieber, Kanye, like all those guys. Guess what happens with them? They go through like this evil person, like POS. Then they go to this dating spree, and they go to like splurging, and then these flashy things, and then all of a sudden they take a sabbatical. Who've seen this? They take a sabbatical, and all of a sudden you'll see them taking. They're all of a sudden they're religious now. And then all of a sudden, like after being religious, they're back to like showing up to the scene, and like this cycle, because they reached it. And like, look at the people that reached the peak that we didn't. What happens to them? They become depressed because they got there so fast, because they didn't have any goals to, like, they reached all their goals. So I was talking to my team members the other day. I took them to lunch, and someone was saying, well, man, I'm stressed. I'm losing weight. I'm stressed. But my stress is different than if I tell you, you're like, why are you stressed? Why are you stressed, Sal? Like, or like his name is, I'm not gonna say his name, because my stress is different than your stress, but to me it's stressful. I'm like, no, I totally understand. But I'm gonna tell you one advice that I live by. If life was all rainbows and butterfly, and it's gonna make my skin so thin that a flat tire is gonna ruin my whole month. We are meant to live in up and down. If it was all gravy, all happy moments, I'm gonna be just as depressed or more, and faster, because I don't have the tolerance for that anymore. So I'm okay with, like, I want to. And if you're the person that like boils up and explode, and does that same cycle over and over again, that's not good. Explode more often. It's healthy for you. I'm telling you. So, and then the last step I want to talk about is make sure that your team or your circle, whoever is around you, know what the F you're talking about, what your goals are. Because guess what? That's going to hold you accountable. Because the worst thing is being in shame, when you're like, I'm going to do this and you can't do it. But that's the perfect way of challenging yourself. The second thing, if you have your team members depending on you and you tell them exactly what to do, not just makes them work harder for you, but it gives them something to hope for. And another thing, gives you something to look forward to, gives you something to, like, that holds you accountable, because you know there's people depending on you. So make sure whatever you talk about or you talk to yourself about, make sure you share that. It reaffirms it for you.